It's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gangway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right. Welcome to the weekend, everyone. It's 4:02 in the Pacific time zone. Time for Toker Talk Radio. Let's get our phone lines open at 971-533-7111. Pop that graphic right up there on the screen for you. Big thanks to Aaron Mallon from Show Me Cannabis for joining us in our first hour. If you missed that interview, the replay is coming up at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. He's at the halfway mark, so half past that. From Show Me Cannabis, telling us all about suing the drug task forces out there. And this is, man, I love this stuff. I love it when activists are engaged in lawsuits. This is how activism really happens. I'm a big fan of the march. I like the marching, and I like the protesting, and I like the parades, and I like the hemp fests, and I like the conferences and the presentations and all of that. But the real heavy lifting of activism is litigation and legislation. That's right. Litigating over the current laws and legislating for new ones. That's where real activism happens. All those other things build the support for those two. All the parties, all the festivals, all the fundraisers, all the meetings and conferences and expos and hemp fests and so forth. They're all nice. But if they're not working toward litigation and legislation, nothing changes. So keep that in mind when you're looking to support activist groups, looking to support activists out there. Ask yourself, does it further litigation and legislation? And, it's something to consider because it used to be, back in the day, whatever the day was, right? Back in the day, there was just prohibition and fighting against it. That was it, right? Through the 80s, through the 90s, even some of the 2000s, it was like, you're either for us or against us. It's pretty easy. There's the cops and the prosecutors and the law, and then there's us, the pot people. And we don't want to go to jail. And it was easy. But now, my goodness, there's medical, there's decrim, there's CBD only, there's legalization with home grow, without home grow, with markets, with cartels, with monopolies. There's so many choices out there. And I know it's tough. Yesterday on my rant, Toker Talk Radio, all last show, I was talking about Ohio and California and how there's so many groups that I'm starting to be afraid now that none of them will get their shit together. And in 2016, we will pass without two of the largest states actually having something on the ballot. Is that possible? Everybody seems to think, 2016 California. I hope so. I really hope so. But I wouldn't be surprised if April 2016 came and went and none of them made the ballot. It wouldn't shock me. Now, I think the chances are good. I'm more optimistic than pessimistic. But that pessimistic side of me can see the seeds of discontent and how this could all backfire, how California could just go to hell in a handbasket real quick. You know, it's a tough situation in California. They're kind of victims of their own success. Now they've got this entrenched medical marijuana industry. Big players with a couple of commas in their bank accounts that kind of like things the way they are. And you've got clientele. You've got patients who kind of like things the way they are. And as Washington State continues its fight to reconcile its unregulated medical marijuana along with its recreational marijuana, and those activists down in California look north to Washington and see, oh my God, look what happens with legalization. When legalization happens, they start taking a look at all this unregulated medical shit and they want to clean it up. Gosh, if we legalized here in California, they might take a look at all our unregulated medical shit and want to clean it up. And even more, here in Oregon, we passed a legalization that 3 times said that it will not affect the Oregon medical marijuana program, and yet that's all they can talk about at the legislature right now is how they're going to redo the Oregon medical marijuana program. If that happens, once again, you'll have the Californians looking north going, see, even if you promise to leave medical alone, it doesn't. So it's going to be really, really tough. Really, really tough. And in California, you got the medical side fighting for things, and you got the recreational side. It can be very difficult to figure out who or what to support.
Continue the conversation with Radical Russ online. Visit radicalruss.com and email radicalruss@gmail.com.
And then there's Ohio. Ohio's even a more difficult situation. I had John Pardee from the Ohio Rights Group on. Today I got 2 emails from 2 different representatives in Ohio. Not state representatives, but, activist reps. Who now want to come on and rebut what he had to say and make the pitch for their groups. So I just might have an all Ohio day coming up here sometime in the future. Stay tuned for that. We'll be back after these advertising messages. .420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups. Oregon has joined Washington and Colorado in legalizing marijuana. We're Portland NORML, the national organization for the reform of marijuana laws chapter in Portland, Oregon. Join us as we celebrate the launch of an exciting new era in marijuana freedom in Oregon. Our job has just begun. Powerful interests want to white out the most important portions of Oregon's legalization law. By joining Portland NORML, you add your voice to the thousands who voted for Measure 91 and want it to be implemented as written. The people have spoken. Now it is time for the legislature to obey the will of the people. Find out more about Portland NORML at portlandnormal.org. Attend our monthly membership meetings on the 4th Saturday of the month. See our website for more details. Portland NORML, ensuring responsible adult marijuana consumers are afforded the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities as beer drinkers.
Funky Roller Ring.
Oh, yeah.
What's happening, Groovy Cats? This is your Funk Master of Ceremonies, Big Daddy, and I want you to join me every Thursday night at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, right here at the Funky Roller Ring.
Oh, yeah.
Your home of soul, funk, and disco, baby.
Funky-licious.
There's always a party at the Funky Roller Ring.
This is Radical Russ encouraging you to take a look at the Weed Blog every day. Johnny Green and the staff at the Weed Blog are on top of all the latest developments in the fight to end marijuana prohibition nationwide. You can even get the Weed Blog on your smartphone by installing the Weed Blog app for iPhone and Android.
If it's about weed, it's on the Weed Blog, including my original writing. So don't delay. Read the Weed Blog today. The great Robin Trower with Bridge of Sighs. That's from 1974, an appearance on UK television. Same year High Times magazine was founded, 1974, which, as Homer Simpson correctly opined, was the year rock music peaked. We will discuss that in the chat room later, but if you can find me a better year in rock music than 1974, and remember, you have to cite proof of this too. We'll have that debate in the chat room. I was just going on the DIP4 list. That's the Drug Policy Forum of Oregon. This is a list that all of us Oregon reformers belong to and have a lot of our discussions. And somebody brought up this idea, this point, this bill that's trying to encapsulate this 1,000-foot barrier from schools and parks and playgrounds and all that. It's kind of the standard 1,000-foot barrier thing, except for one thing. Our Oregon marijuana legalization, Measure 91, legalized home cultivation of four plants per household. But it didn't exactly make clear whether or not the prohibition on cultivation within 1,000 feet of a school applied to home grows. And there's concern here, and I believe there's a bill that's addressing this to make sure that it's explicit. There's concern that this could mean that, yeah, you can grow four plants at home, but only if you don't live near a school. Which is ridiculous, of course, because it's like, what's the point? Now, the 1,000 foot from a school rule, when it comes to the dispensaries and the grow sites, is already kind of ridiculous, right? But at least you can find a sliver of logic behind it. The sliver being that, oh my gosh, these kids are going to school, and as they go to school, they might see a sign with pot leaves on it. And they might know there's people in there that are growing marijuana. Right. So this little shred of logic there. But banning home grow within 1,000 feet of a school? Now, maybe there's a tiny shred of logic if we're talking about an outdoor grow. Maybe the kids walking to school might see a pot leaf peeking up over a fence. Oh no. But if we're extending this to banning home grow of 4 plants in your own damn house, if it's within 1,000 feet of a school, I can't even see the tiniest iota of logic behind that. The kids aren't going to see the grow. It's in your house. It's your own damn house. And if the idea is, well, there's there's marijuana growing on in there, and we don't want the kids to know that there's growing going on there. Well, then what other things are going on in my house that I particularly might not want the kids to know about? Surfing Cinemax late at night? I mean, there's all sorts of things you could be doing in the privacy of your own home that would not at all be appropriate for the children to be around. So if we can get all freaky deaky and, run around the house naked and slathered in Jell-O pudding, why can't we grow a pot plant? I just, this irrational fear of what about the children is just the funniest thing to me. And so I brought up this idea, and I've done this before, right? I remember reporting on, I can't remember where it was in California, but there was a dispensary in California that had to close down because it's within 1,000 feet of a McDonald's play place, right? It had gotten so ridiculous. We're not even talking about schools, playgrounds, parks, public facilities for the youth. But now we're going to extend it to fast food restaurants that have a slide and a ball pit. We can't have a pot shop within one of those, right? God knows the Happy Meal is more deadly to the kid than the pot would be, but nevertheless, this place was like 650 feet away from McDonald's Play Place. So I looked it up on Google Street Maps, and ever since I've reported on this story, every time I get one of these 1,000-foot stories, I look the place up on Google Street Maps. And damn near every time that I pull up the location of the dispensary that was in such a bad location, within 1,000 feet of that location, I can find all sorts of shit that's far worse. Strip clubs, pawn shops, liquor stores, and so forth. Let's go to our phone lines. We're at the 541 area code. Calling in from Oregon. You're on Toker Talk Radio.
This is Canada Justice. I have a question. Can you brew beer 1,000 feet within a school in your garage?
Yeah, because beer doesn't hurt the children at all, you see. So yeah, that's perfectly okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Good for kids. I forgot.
In fact, I believe in Oregon, you can even set up your own craft distillery within 1,000 feet of school.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, are they going to check for, I don't know, some states still have anal sex as against the law. Are they going to go check for that now, too? I mean,
anti-sodomy going on? Yeah, we got to...
Yeah, exactly. It's a little overreaching. And I was also saying, I don't know anything about Kate Brown and her stance on the cannabis bill. I know that Kid Hopper wanted to gut it pretty much, but... you know anything on her stance? I haven't.
Yeah, I will defer to Anthony Johnson from Measure 91. He told us today that Kate Brown is probably going to be more sensible than Governor Kitzhaber was. Kitzhaber wanted to, he didn't like the 8 ounces at home. He wanted to set up a per se THC limit. I mean, Kitzhaber wasn't that good on the issue. Kate Brown seems to be a little bit better. That said, Anthony says we need to be vigilant and make sure to remind her that, 56% of the people passed this thing and we want to regulate it similar to alcohol.
Right. Well, I hope so.
Yeah, otherwise I don't have much more information on Kate Brown, to tell you the truth. I do know, as Secretary of State, her office dismissed the complaint against me from District Attorney Josh Markey regarding that marijuana legalization tour stuff.
Oh, well, you got to like her for that.
Yeah, that's a plus in my book.
Well, I'll trust her until she leaves me not to.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on her. And again, if you're in Oregon, let her know. Send her emails at the Secretary of State.
I do, man.
All right.
You have a good weekend.
Thanks, Justice. Appreciate it, man. And yeah, we got a new governor. We don't have a lieutenant governor in Oregon, so the Secretary of State becomes the governor, and her name is Kate Brown. And I've always found her to be, I don't recall any scandal or anything that she's ever done that really offended me much. I know there was something involving one of the Oregon activists, maybe in 2010. I might have to dig a little bit to recall that story, what was going on there. But that's, the brief flicker of memory on that. But otherwise, I don't have any knowledge on Kate Brown. I do think this is good because at least she's not actively calling for bad stuff like Governor Kitzhaber was. And, I think this will end up for the best for all of us. I'll keep y'all posted on this, of course.
Unbelievable.
Of course, there's a little bit of pot irony in this, too. The governor is resigning because of his fiancée, Sylvia Hayes. There's all sorts of questions about her using her influence as Oregon's first lady to get some consulting gigs. And then there's some rumor that the governor ordered thousands of emails to be deleted and so forth. But the other thing is that she was noted for investing in a pot growing property back in the day, too.
420 Radio, turning red states and blue states green. The International Cannabis Business Conference is coming to the Hyatt Regency Hotel in San Francisco, California, February 15th and 16th, 2015. Don't miss this exclusive opportunity to hear from the experts on the future of marijuana commerce, including scientists like Dr. Carl Hart, Dr. Amanda Ryman, and Dr. Stanton Peel, policy experts like Ethan Nadelman from Drug Policy Alliance, Anthony Johnson from Oregon's Legalization Campaign, travel author Rick Steves from Washington's Legalization Campaign, and California legalization pioneer Dale Sky Jones. Business experts like Harborside Steve D'Angelo, ArcView Group's Troy Dayton, and UFCW union leader Dan Rush. Cannabis journalists like Ricardo Baca, Steve Bloom, and Doug Fine, and California Republican Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, plus many, many more. Tickets are on sale now at internationalcbc.com, but hurry, last year's conference in Portland, Oregon was a sellout. International Cannabis Business Conference, San Francisco, California, February 15th and 16th, internationalcbc.com. NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks are far less than those posed by legal drugs. Are you in the market for portable vaporizers now? Get online to vapes.buzz, the quick and easy link to portablevaporizers.now.com. Vapes.buzz has everything you are looking for, including vape pens, herbal vaporizers, e-juice, parts, accessories, and more. Visit vapes.buzz and use promo code 420radio to get 10% off your online purchase, or just give them a call at 866-264-2415. Vapes.buzz. Get vaping, baby!
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Rockin' Friday, featuring rock, metal, and the hard edge of alternative country. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
Welcome back, everyone. 23 after the hour, and today we got Herb Thrasher here for our Rockin' Friday with two of my favorite things, marijuana and black pussy. Now, I'm talking about my cat. My God, you people, you're disgusting. Hey, Herb, what's up?
Doing great, man. You're already starting us off in an R-rated film here, I guess, the 1970s. But no, it's all good. We're definitely going to have a great band on tonight, as Russ mentioned, a local Portland stoner rock band, and they're called Black Pussy. And if you guys want to find out anything about their name or what they've got going, we've got two of the dudes freaking coming into studio, and we're going to have a freaking ball with them. It's going to be awesome. We've got Dustin Hill and Ryan McIntyre coming in, and real excited to talk to them, learn a lot about what Black Pussy has got going on. They have a brand new album that we're releasing on the 17th of February next week on Tuesday, and it's called Magic Mustache, and it's going to be released through Made in China Records. And it's a great album. I've been listening to it for about 3 weeks now and contacted them, and it works out because they're going to be going on tour here pretty soon, and they're kind of hanging out right now getting ready for this release, and they're going to come in studio, and we're going to just talk. They're going to hang out for the whole show and just have a ball and hang out with these guys and talk music and talk their new album and talk a lot of Black Pussy. And it leads us to our Rockin' Friday tune today. And, when you hear a song and when you just know that the title of it is titled Marijuana, you know that these dudes are pretty cool and know what's going on and have vibes within our community and thoughts. And this tune was released on the album On Blonde, which was released in 2012, and it was also on Made in China Records. And, these guys back, they've kind of transited their sound through the years. And, there's so many influence from blues to rock to stoner rock. And this album kind of started the whole process off with them. They have a total 70s vibe, real cosmic, atmospheric, very heady vibe. And this album, released in 2012 on Blonde, illustrated that and put forth, and here they are today in 2015 with this brand new release, Magic Mustache. And so you guys join us tonight, 8 p.m., be safe. Congratulations to everyone in Oregon. We've got a brand new governor finally, and you guys party down on that. And join us tonight, and we'll talk about that and figure out if Kate Brown is Stony for us too, and all good stuff. I'm sure you guys have been talking about it on Russell's show, and we're going to talk about it more tonight. And we'll get Black Pussy's thoughts on the new governor as well. I just love saying that, Russ. Any time I can have excuse to say their freaking name, it's just like,
and I
gotta say,
folks,
turn it up. Black Pussy, safe weekend. Here it is, Marijuana.
It's stimulating, mind expanding, safer to use than alcohol. It's the in thing.
She said she wants you. She said she wants you marijuana. She said she wants you. She said she wants you marijuana. She said she wants you. She said she wants you marijuana. She said she wants you. She said she wants you right. I know you can't hold me down. Yeah, tonight, girl, you and me are going all the way. It's gonna be really good time. She wants you. She said she wants you marijuana. She said she wants you. She said she wants you now. Girl, you and me are laying right now. Yeah, tonight, girl, you and me are rock and roll high. It's gonna be a really good time. She said she wants your marijuana. She said she wants you. She said she wants your marijuana. She said she wants you. She said she wants your marijuana. She said she wants you. She said let's ride, girl, you and me and rock and roll style. Yeah, tonight, girl, rock and roll is going all the way. It's gonna be a really good time. Girl, she's high. She says she can't go. She's
.420 Radio. Tune in, turn on, get highly educated. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you.
Fun.
What's happening, cool cats? This is Big Daddy, and I want you to cruise on over to the Funky Roller Rink. We'll be grooving all night long. Doors open at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, every Thursday night, right here on RadicalRuss.com.
Funky-licious.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at
Welcome back, everyone. No need to tell you who this is. Led Zeppelin with Stairway to Heaven. It's 32 after the hour. Welcome back to the show. Toker Talk Radio taking place here from Rolla J Studios, live in Portland, Oregon, where it's beautiful outside. The weather is getting better and better. Reminds me why I love this place. Unfortunately, I have to deliver more bad news today. It's a sad day for Republicans against marijuana prohibition. Co-founder Robert Crayford Lee, age 90, passed away peacefully yesterday in Houston, Texas. Robert Crayford Lee was the husband of RAMP's executive director Ann Lee and the father of Richard Lee from Oaksterdam University, the marijuana activist who led the fight in 2010 to try to pass Proposition 19. Robert Crayford Lee's early years were spent in Wichita Falls. He attended school in Wichita Falls, Corpus Christi, and graduated from Waco High School in Waco, Texas. He served in the United States Navy and graduated from University of Texas in 1950. Robert devoted a long and full life to his family, his country, and God, those things which he most loved. Bob was a lifelong Republican and co-founder of Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition. His wife, Ann Lee, survives him. They married for 64 years. Mrs. Lee is 84 years old, so she is without her husband for the first time. Oh my God, in 64 years. Amazing. And of course, his sons, James, Michael, Robert, Donald, and Richard, all surviving him as well. Memorial service will be held tomorrow at 1 p.m. at the First Presbyterian Church in Houston, Texas. We are sad to see him go. I've gotten to speak with Robert 2 or 3 times at different events that we've done. He was always a steady, quiet, solid man backing up his vivacious and very charismatic wife. I mean, Ann Lee. If Ann Lee can't talk your grandma into legalizing weed, nobody can. Let's put it that way. So, 90 years old. It's just, it's sad to see him go, but he lived a very long and productive life, and his legacy will live on. I believe that Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition is one of the most important groups out there, especially fighting in the red states, places like Texas and some of the southern states. If you'd like to get involved in forming a chapter of Republicans Against Marijuana Prohibition. Their website is rampgop.org. rampgop.org. All right, let's get back into some of the discussions that we were already deep into on the show. And the most pressing one, of course, is this discussion about legalization and what's a deal breaker and what's good enough and what's true legalization and should we not support this legalization and all and so forth. And here's the thing. Sometimes when we're doing talk radio, we have to set these really stark terms of the debate to get the debate flowing. Got to stake out a very extreme ideological position and then see what comes from that. So yesterday I staked out this very extreme ideological position, which is that the responsible Ohio cartel proposal, that if it makes the ballot, it's worth supporting. And oh, have I heard about that? Had a lot of people. No, I can never support the cartel monopoly. You're wrong, Radical Russ. That's terrible. How could you? Once it's in the Constitution, we'll never get the right to home grow. We'll have to fight against the entrenched monopoly interests and all their lobbyists. And Now, I understand these fears. Let me address some of them. This idea that, for one of the ideas was that if we support this thing, if we vote for this thing, it'll set a precedent. And if it sets this precedent that marijuana legalization is for sale to the highest bidder, then the next states that follow will also set up these grow cartel monopoly type things. And I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. The whole constitutional monopoly thing is really an Ohio thing. It's really based on Ohio passing a casino amendment back in 2009. That's when it was discovered that, hey, if you want to create yourself a new industry, you can write it into the Constitution. So, this wasn't just thought up by Responsible Ohio. They're just taking a cue from the playbook of the casino people. And that's how they got their monopoly, right? But the idea that one state's going to set a precedent for another state hasn't held true so far. California passed medical marijuana. Anybody can get it. Anybody who wants it can get it. The next states didn't follow that precedent. But they did set a precedent to allow for home grow. The following states didn't follow that precedent. Oh, by the way, let me get this in the chat room. Gothic Prophet saying I was not hysterical when I brought these points up. Absolutely right. And I have to watch myself sometimes because I get, all boisterous and dramatic on these posts and in these rants. And I don't intend it to demean anyone's point of view or to, cast aspersions or anything like that. Just trying to be entertaining. That's all. But no, the things that Prophet was saying in the chat room, very valid points. I just don't agree with them at this point. And I wanted to, though, add some nuance to this. I wanted to do some nuance on this, right? Because a lot of times this is a depends thing, right? If the Responsible Ohio people make it to the ballot in 2015, which I understand is where they're going for 2015. If it makes the ballot in November of 2015, the question you have to ask yourself is a constitutional monopoly worth 15,000 people's criminal records? Could you turn to any one of those 15,000 who are going to have a lifelong criminal record for getting busted for pot? Could you turn to them and say, sorry, you got to take one for the team? You and 14,999 other people are going to just have to have criminal records. We're just going to have to let prohibition go on 1 year longer. And then in 2016, we'll fix it. Now, maybe that's something you can bring yourself to say. Maybe that's, you can say, well, look, we're in Ohio. It's 100 grams decrim. It's worth the risk. Maybe it is. But here's why I don't think it is. If the risk was, all right, don't vote for it in 2015 because something is absolutely certain to make it in 2016,
then maybe there's some wiggle room. Maybe I'm thinking, all right, well, 2016, we can wait a year. But I'm not that sanguine on Ohio's chances of putting something else up on the ballot. I just, the number 1, 2, and 3 things you got to have is money. And I don't see any other group with the money, even if that was just the only group out there. And there's like 4 or 5 of them out there. So if 2015 comes around and this thing makes the ballot and it's voted down, do you think the next proposal, do you think it gets voted down because the people are rejecting the constitutional monopoly, or does it get voted down because other people think it's still too liberal? In other words, does the thing that gets on the ballot in 2016 end up being worse? There's no guarantee it wouldn't be worse in 2016. And there's no guarantee you would have something to vote on in 2016. And in that case, you're looking at another 15,000 people and another 15,000 people and another 15,000 people. And this idea that if you lock in a constitutional commercial grow monopoly, there shall never be right to home grow. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. See, you've got people right now who have these wonderful ideas about legalization, who right now can't raise the money, gather the signatures, organize all behind one idea to fight the law enforcement lobby that maintains prohibition. So we're supposed to believe in 2016 something magically changes that allows them to be able to fight the law enforcement lobby to oppose prohibition? Or would those people have a better shot after a cartel monopoly passes of putting together an initiative to allow for home grow? I mean, is it easier to come up with the money to fight law enforcement and existing prohibition than it is to come up with the money to establish new rights for people who already now have the right to possess? I think it becomes easier. I think you're fighting for the rights of citizens at that point rather than fighting for the rights of criminals. But it's a tough decision, and it's one everyone has to make personally. Myself personally, I have a real simple litmus test. I ask myself whether the DEA would vote for it. And whatever they'd vote for, I vote against, and whatever they vote against, I vote for. And I know damn well that the DEA would not be voting for Responsible Ohio, therefore I will. I can't be on the same side of a ballot as my oppressor. I just can't do it. So I don't want to see Responsible Ohio make the ballot. And at this stage, when it hasn't yet made the ballot, this is the time to be educating people and to be trying to coalesce and trying to get everyone else on the same page. Because I know for sure that if the battle is between Responsible Ohio versus Responsible Ohioans for Cannabis and Ohio Rights Group and Ohioans to End Prohibition and Ohio Can and a whole bunch of little splinter groups, I know for sure they're not going to win. The only chance anybody has of competing with Responsible Ohio is if all the other 4 groups get together, bury the differences, and work on something together.
America's R7 secret agent of progressive change.
The name's Belville. Russ Belville.
This is the Russ Belville Show.
Okay, so this, I'm just catching up on the chat room. The idea is legalize 10 grow sites, then the DEA shuts down all 10 grow sites, and then since there's no legal grow sites, possession's illegal? Sorry, no, that was the same argument they tried with 502. Making possession legal does not depend on getting it from a legal place. So, can't use that one. All right, we'll be back. Gotta pay some bills.
420 Radio, the world's voice of marijuana legalization. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher. When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
Back, everyone. 47 after the hour. That's music from Disenchanter. That's some Herb Thrasher Flower Hour music. Make sure you join us at 8 p.m. Pacific tonight. We're live. And we've got Black Pussy in the studio. That's right. Black Pussy. Not my cat Isis, who is a black pussy, but two members of the Portland band Black Pussy will be joining us. Make up your own R-rated joke here. All right, so winding things up, just kind of a potpourri. I'm going to get away from the Ohio story and the drug testing stuff, all kind of bummer stuff. Don't want to get too controversial here. It's a Friday, it's a weekend, want to leave everyone with a good feeling. So let's get to a couple stories here that I can rant about. We can all be angry at together. It's amazing to me the way the media report on marijuana issues. And having studied framing for such a long time, and linguistics, neuro-linguistic programming and all that, I'm always interested in how they frame things. So let me read this headline to you. See if it doesn't set off the same alarm bell nerve that it did in me. Here's the headline. Doctors say more kids using drugs since marijuana legalized. Oh no. More kids using drugs since marijuana legalized. Now, this is from King 5 up in Seattle, and reading the actual story, what it has to do with is marijuana. Since marijuana is being legalized, some of the principals at these different schools and a doctor at Seattle's Children's Hospital are seeing more kids use marijuana, not drugs. The headline could have read, doctors say more kids using marijuana since legalization. And that would be accurate. But no, doctors say more kids using drugs since marijuana legalized. Why the distinction between drugs and marijuana unless the point was to scare the hell out of parents that think, oh, see, we legalized marijuana and all the kids are turning into heroin addicts. See, it's the gateway drug. See? Subtle shit that the media does here to keep reinforcing the status quo of prohibition. Now, the story itself says Lisa Davidson, manager of prevention and intervention for Seattle Public Schools, says principals are seeing more marijuana use in public and more family use as well. All right, so here's something that we're just going to have to adapt to as marijuana reformers. More people are going to use pot when it's legal. I know it's something we've shied away from. I know in the past we've said things like, well, we got to legalize marijuana because, drug dealers don't check ID and, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is that we're going to see more people use marijuana when it's legal. Whether that is more people willing to admit it, people that had already been using marijuana, been lying to the pollster, or the fact that, hey, man, when it was illegal, I didn't want to touch it. Now it's legal. I'll give it a try. We're going to have more people use marijuana. And that will mean more kids using marijuana. It can't not. And we've, as reformers, shied away from this and tried to, paper this one over. And there's still, it may just be a temporary thing. It may be a short-term, hey, there's something new out there. Let's see what it's all about thing. But we're going to have to address the fact that legalizing marijuana means more people will use it. We need to start attacking this idea that somehow more marijuana use is a bad thing. We need to point out that more marijuana use means less alcohol use. That more marijuana use means less prescription drug abuse. That more marijuana use means fewer suicides among young men. That more marijuana use means lower body mass index and obesity. That more marijuana use means higher resistance to cancer. We need to start sticking up for marijuana. It's not a choice for everyone, but more people choosing it is not per se a bad thing. As we've seen, the traffic fatalities haven't gone up. The disease and death rates haven't gone up. The crime rates haven't gone up. The only thing that's gone up is more people using marijuana. And that in and of itself is not a bad thing. Certainly when we legalized state lotteries, more people gambled. Certainly when we legalized tribal casinos and riverboat casinos, more people gamble than when it was just Las Vegas and Atlantic City. But the question is, did harm increase? Every state I know of with a state lottery devotes a significant portion of those lottery proceeds to problem gambling support. Here in Oregon, you always see that helpline for problem gamblers. And, we got similar things going on with marijuana legalization, devoting a certain percentage to drug prevention and treatment. But the question needs to be shifted. As we now have majority support for marijuana legalization, we need to start reframing things a little bit. And we need to get away from, well, marijuana's not good, but prohibition's bad. That's been our selling point so far. Well, it's not like we're saying marijuana's good or anything, but, locking people up for it and disproportionately locking up black people for it is bad. The other talking point we've used for a long time is the economic one. Well, nobody's saying that we ought to smoke weed or anything, but since people are, we could be making some tax money off of it. None of those things address the real reason why marijuana should be legal, and that is because nobody has the jurisdiction or right to make it illegal. It's our natural, inalienable right. It's our hemp heritage. Who has the right to determine what we do with our bodies, what plants that we plant, what seeds that we sow? That's why I've always had that problem with we're going to raise so much tax money on marijuana argument. Because what happens if it doesn't raise a lot of money? Right? part of this has been, well, we're gonna legalize marijuana because the states are in such dire straits financially. They could raise some extra tax money. Well, what happens if the economy rebounds and all the states are doing fine? Does that mean now there's not a need to legalize marijuana? Hell, we can afford to lock people up. Let's keep doing it. So you see where I'm coming at here? Don't stake your claim solely on that tax revenue thing, because it shouldn't matter whether it's affordable to lock people up for a plant or not. It's just wrong to lock people up for a plant. The racial justice issue is another really good issue, but don't hang your hat on that one completely either, because a perfect solution to ending the racial disproportionality of marijuana arrests would be to arrest more white people. That doesn't sound like a solution to me. I'm not for that. How about arresting no people? That's the solution we're looking for. So keep these things in mind as we make these arguments with respect to marijuana legalization. All right, a couple of other quick stories. The Apple Store. Okay, so the Hi There app. You know that Hi There app, the new Tinder for marijuana smokers, right? Little dating app. It's available for Android, but it's not available for iTunes. And I asked Coral Reefer about this last weekend, and she said, oh, iTunes won't take social media apps that have to do with marijuana. And I didn't know that because I'm not a Mac guy. I don't do Apple, so I had no idea. Well, 2 weeks ago, Apple had yanked the app for Massroots. Massroots is an online community for marijuana users, right? Took it out of the iTunes store, even though it had been there since July of 2013. Funny, it was there from July 2013 until last November when the election happened, and then they pulled it. And the founder of this, Massroots, had also negotiated with Apple. He said, look, we'll fix it so that it's geolocated. Like you can only use it if you're in a legal state, right? And still, Apple wouldn't allow it because it had to do with marijuana. But on Thursday, iTunes decided to accept it. According to their founder, Isaac Dietrich, quote, a few hours ago, an Apple representative called to notify us that our efforts were successful. The App Store is permitting cannabis social apps that are geo-restricted to the 23 states that have legalized medicinal cannabis. Massroots is available for download in the App Store. Now, that's telling me that if they're going to allow that for Massroots, then they're probably going to allow that for Hi There as well. So we could look forward to that making it to the App Store and many other applications that will geolocate themselves based on your legal status. It's going to be interesting. I mean, we're going to have more and more things happening here in America that separate us into basically an apartheid country. Green and non-green. There'll be sections of the country where you can get these kind of apps and sections of the country where you can't. It's just fascinating to me, and fascinating as we continue to go through marijuana legalization. And one final story, Houston, Texas. Apparently Houston is now reeling from the introduction of tabs. Yeah. Set your clock back 3 years, right? When Friendswood police pulled over Damon Fraser, they found something they'd never come across before, a new form of marijuana called marijuana wax and butter. It's hit the streets so fast, so strong, said an agent with the DEA. It's hard for smaller police agencies to catch it. To the normal untrained eye, they wouldn't know what it is. You could be using it right next to a cop car and they wouldn't know what you are doing. Hey, cops, you can thank Prohibition. Helped us come up with something that was easier, simpler to use and smuggle. Wow, folks, time flies when you're legalized. That's all the time we got this week. Tune into the RB Live channel this weekend, Sunday and Monday. I'll bring you some coverage of the International Cannabis Business Conference. Monday and Tuesday, we will have replay shows because I'll still be flying around the country. So until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down.